Hello, my precious ones. It's your Mama Ruth, and today I want to share a story that will surely warm your heart and fill it with hope. It's the story of a man named Mike, a story about falling to the very bottom and being lifted up by a love so powerful it can move mountains. Mike is 60 years old now, a kind man with a gentle smile. But if you'd met him just over a decade ago, you would have seen a very different person. For years, Mike was lost in the dark shadow of addiction. It was a long, hard road, a cycle of trying to get clean and falling right back in. That darkness cost him so much. It took his marriage, leaving him with a broken heart. It nearly took his home, burying him under a mountain of debt so high he couldn't see a way out. Worst of all, it nearly destroyed the most precious relationship in his life, the one with his daughter. Imagine the pain of looking into your child's eyes and seeing not love or pride, but disappointment and fear. That was Mike's reality. He was left with nothing but the heavy weight of regret and a pain that gnawed at his soul day and night. He had hit rock bottom, and the fall had shattered him into a million pieces. He felt completely alone, abandoned by everyone, even himself. The nights were the longest. That's when the silence would scream at him, reminding him of everything he had lost, of every wrong turn he had made. He felt like a ship lost at sea in a storm, with no lighthouse, no star to guide him home. The shame was a heavy cloak he couldn't take off. He avoided people, hid from the world, and most of all, he hid from himself. He didn't recognize the man in the mirror anymore. That man was a stranger, haunted by ghosts of the past and terrified of the future. Then came a night that would change everything. It wasn't a special night. It was just another long, dark night filled with despair. Mike was sitting alone in his half-empty house, surrounded by bills he couldn't pay and memories that hurt too much to remember. He felt a brokenness so deep, so complete, that he couldn't carry it another second. And in that moment of absolute surrender, with tears streaming down his face, he did the only thing he had left to do. He looked up. He cried out to God. It wasn't a fancy prayer, my dears. It was a raw, desperate cry from the depths of his soul. God, he sobbed, if you're real, if you can hear me, please help me. I can't do this anymore. I've ruined everything. I have nothing left. Please just take this pain away. I give it all to you. In that moment of total surrender, something shifted. He didn't see a flashing light or hear a voice from heaven, but a sense of peace, a quiet calm he hadn't felt in years, began to settle over his troubled heart. It was a tiny flicker of light in the vast darkness, but for the first time in a long, long time, Mike felt a glimmer of hope. He felt heard. He felt that he was no longer alone in that room. That one prayer, that simple, heartfelt plea, was the beginning of a miracle. From that night forward, Mike held on to that flicker of hope with everything he had. He started reading the Bible, letting the words of comfort and promise wash over him. He found a small local church where people didn't judge him for his past, but welcomed him with open arms. They saw him not as an addict, but as a child of God who was finding his way home. This community became his family, his support system. They prayed with him, they encouraged him, and they reminded him of God's amazing grace, that his past did not define his future. The road to recovery wasn't easy. There were still hard days, moments of temptation. But this time was different. He wasn't fighting alone. He was leaning on his faith, drawing strength from a power greater than himself. Every time he felt weak, he remembered that prayer in the darkness and the peace that followed. He replaced old destructive habits with new healthy ones. He started volunteering at the church, finding joy in serving others. It was a slow process, one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. But with each step forward, he felt the chains of addiction growing weaker and weaker. God was rebuilding him, piece by piece, from the inside out. And then, God's blessings began to pour into Mike's life in ways he could never have imagined. It was as if the heavens opened up. Out of the blue, he was offered a high-paying job, a position that seemed tailor-made for his skills. It was a true gift, a provision that could only have come from above. With this new income, Mike began to tackle that mountain of debt. Bill by bill, he paid off every single cent he owed. The weight that had been crushing him for years was finally lifted. With his finances in order, he started to bring his home back to life. He renovated the rooms that had been filled with sad memories, painting the walls with fresh, bright colors. He fixed the broken things, turning a house of despair into a home filled with peace and light. It was a physical symbol of the transformation happening in his heart. The house was no longer a reminder of what he had lost. It was a testament to what God had restored. But the most beautiful miracle of all was the healing of his relationship with his daughter. As she saw the genuine, lasting change in her father, her heart began to soften. The wall between them, built brick by brick, with years of hurt and broken promises, started to crumble. They began to talk, really talk. He humbly asked for her forgiveness, and she, with tears in her eyes, freely gave it. They started spending time together again, sharing meals, going for walks, and just enjoying being in each other's company. The laughter returned. The trust was rebuilt. The love that had always been there, buried under all the pain, was finally able to blossom again. Today their bond is stronger than ever before. To see them together, you would never guess the heartache they endured. It is a breathtaking picture of God's redemptive power. He didn't just fix what was broken. He made it more beautiful than it was before. Now, a decade later, Mike is a new man. He is 10 years clean, standing tall and firm in his faith. But he hasn't forgotten where he came from. He uses his story, his testimony, to help others who are trapped in the same darkness he once knew. He's active in his church, leading a support group for those battling addiction. He shares his story with honesty and humility, not to boast about what he has done, but to testify to what God has done. His message is simple and powerful. No matter how far you've fallen, no matter how broken you feel, no matter how hopeless your situation seems, it is never too late. God's love can reach you in your darkest moment. His grace is big enough to cover any mistake. He is a God of second chances, third chances, 100 chances. He can take the shattered pieces of your life and rebuild them into something whole, strong, and beautiful. Mike's life is living proof of that promise. He went from having nothing to having everything that truly matters: peace, purpose, a loving family, and a deep, abiding relationship with the God who saved him. Thank you for letting me share Mike's incredible story with you today. If it touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear a message of hope. And don't forget to subscribe to Mama Ruth Stories for more tales of faith and redemption. Until next time, may you be blessed and walk in His amazing grace.